Hey everyone, Shiv here. Alright, so we've got a few new cards we're going to take a look at. We're going to start off with the Flame Juggler. Okay, so 2 mana for a 2/3. Battlecry, deal 1 damage to random enemy. Now, I'd like to point this out. It is random. So playing this on curve, yeah, okay, sure, it might actually kill a Knife Juggler 50% of the time. Or not. Alright? It's not bad. It really isn't. It's a solid body as a 2/3, which is Rivercroc stats, but it's not a beast, which, you know, has an inherent downside, I guess, but it's still a pretty solid minion. You can definitely use it for trade value, so I like it. I think it's really, really cool. And it's also a Draenei from the look of it, right? Yeah. That's a Draenei. Alright. Moving on. The Clockwork Knight. 5 mana for a 5/5. Okay. So, Battlecry, give a friendly mech +1/+1. Now, I think that, you know, this would be decent in Mech Mage. And this is definitely a safer choice in, say, Mech Shaman over Fel Reaver. Though Fel Reaver is a big, huge, if you don't have an answer for it, you get shreked. But Fel Reaver's downside can really be exploited many times over. And just fatigue is a reality because of him. So, I don't know, this might be a safer choice for that. I like this guy. I think he's actually really, really cool. And it definitely does enable maybe some more mech-type construction in other decks that we're not generally seeing a lot of it, with the exception of Warrior, because that's still a bad fucking design. Just saying. Alright. Next up is the Savage Combatant. 4 mana for a 5/4, so it's Tall Strider body with an Inspire ability. Give your hero +2 attack this turn. Alright, so just on the surface, this is basically turning Druid's hero power into a like shoddy version of a true silver champion. Okay? Because you're getting the 1 armor, which means you're going to mitigate 1 damage, but you could deal 3 damage to something. Alright, that kills a lot of things here, guys. Now, where it gets even interesting is Garrison Commander. Alright? Congratulations. You can use your hero power twice. So what does that mean? That means this is 5 and 2 armor. You can kill Senjin with your hero power and take 1 damage. Paladin can't do that. Mind you, that's also a multi-card setup and blah 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 blah, and it's yeah. But still, it's actually kind of interesting. It really is. So if you play this after you, say, have that Justicar out, okay, so now that's just 4. It's 4 and 2. At that point, it literally is a fucking True Silver Champion for fucking Druids. That's amazing. Will that combination see play? Maybe, because that's a good tempo. It's literally like, well, hey, I could just use my hero power to knock shit out. Let me do that. Alright. It gives them an anti-aggro tool. A very nice anti-aggro tool, I might add. Alright. Moving on. We've got 2 legendaries. Starting off with the first one. Idis Darkbane. 3 mana for a 3/4. Whenever you target this minion with a spell, deal 3 damage to a random enemy. Okay. So, any deck that's running mechs that give spare parts value. Alright? This is not a card you play on curve. Ever. I'm saying that right now. Any deck that runs spare parts, huge value, because spare parts all target minion. Right? Anytime you use stuff like, Sacred Shields, Blessing of Wisdom, Blessing of Might. Pretty much every spell that nobody really uses in Paladin other than the aggro decks. You're going to have a fucking field day with this. You'll be able to like just tempo the fucking board out. Now, it does say random enemy, and I want to be very, very specific with that. That means it's either shit on the board or your opponent's face. Alright? Plus, let's not forget, if you try to target it with a spell and like attack at it, yeah, you're going to probably hit it, but it's going to deal 3 damage to something else on the board. So it could end up killing something you wanted to keep or whatever. So dealing with this is going to be very, very interesting. Like, priest players, they're going to think twice about using Shadow Word Pain on this. Like, I can kill it with the Shadow Word Pain, but I'll lose my Northshire Cleric. So it'll be really interesting. I see somebody coming up with some really interesting combo decks. And also, since we haven't seen all the cards, there might be more enhancement cards coming to other classes. So this might get even more value. Alright, moving on to the next one. Fiola Lightbane. 3 mana for 3/4. Hey, you seem like that other one we just looked at. Alright. Whenever you target this minion with a spell, gain Divine Shield. Okay. That's, I guess, that's kind of interesting. It is. Alright? So, I can play this down. If it survives, I'm going to throw Blessing of Might on it. Oh, look at that. I'm now a 6/4 that has Divine Shield. And I can pretty much trade evenly with whatever the fuck I want. Right? So I can use this to clear board and then throw a Blessing of Wisdom on it after I do that hit just to gain that back. It's actually really cool. I could throw Blessing of Kings on this. Right? So, let's see. Blessing of Kings on this makes that a 7/8 with Divine Shield. Alright, you're now BGHable. But fucking hell, a turn 4 7/8 hit in face? That's huge. That is very, very huge. Now, this also makes a lot of sense in a spare part deck. Right? Here's why. You get the taunt spare part. So, turn 4, congratulations, you now have a Super Annoyotron. That, when they pop the shield, you can put it back just by playing another spare part on it. So, it's really interesting. It definitely has some really good tempo value. It has a lot of good value that I can see here. The only problem is this requires you to use stuff that generally is a loss of tempo value in order to use it effectively. So, do you really gain that much tempo value? But I like it either way. I think it's really interesting. And of course, we got to see what else is coming out. There might be some other cool enhancement stuff that we haven't seen yet. Alright, moving on to the final card. Silent Night. When I saw this, I was like, you gotta be fucking joking, right? No, you're not? Shit. Alright. 3 mana for a 2/2. Stealth. Divine Shield. Holy shit. Now you actually have something you can put out that'll survive for you to get a fucking Blood Knight value on. Yeah. I know, that seems a little wonky, but sure, why not? Alright, coin this out on turn 2, just leave. Turn 3, play Blood Knight, GG, have a nice day. You've got a 6/6 and a 2/2. So, and you don't even have to attack with the Silent Knight, you can leave it stealth, and then follow it up by a Blessing of Kings, and oh, look at that, now you have 2 6/6s on the board. Mind you, that's over like 3 turns, but feasible. So, do I like this card? Sure, why not? It's a minion. It's literally a slightly improved version of the Shielded Minibot, but it's not a mech, and it's, you know, it comes down 1 turn later, but you gain stealth for that extra turn. So I'm okay with that. As a neutral option, this is basically a shielded mini-bot for everybody else. It's just slightly more expensive, which, you know, hey, Classic gets, you know, a little bit of a preferential in those mana curves. Alright, so that is all the cards. But before we move on, I want to point out to this card right here. Alright, a bit ago, before, you know, the announcement of the Grand Tournament, there was a couple leaked things that came out in pictures. One of which was this card. However, it was a 6/7 that had an inspired divine shield. Now everybody said, oh, this is fake, oh, this is fake, oh, this is fake. Well, now that we see this, I actually think that that picture that we saw was actually early testing phase. Now, being as somebody who does card designs, I can tell you right now, a lot of cards go through several iterations. Sometimes it'll be super big, sometimes it'll be super small. You have to basically look at how it'll fit within what you're trying to put out there to see if it's going to be too much. And then you have to do comparisons across everything. Now, the guys over there at Blizzard, they can actually input these cards into a test client and see how well they play. And if they're too broken, if they're too good. So I think this was one of those cards that they literally were testing and said, whoa, 6/7 that every time you use your hero power gains Divine Shield is too fucking powerful. Yeah, are you kidding me? If I could keep a Divine Shield on a Boulder Fist Ogre, I'd have that in every deck. Holy shit. So, yeah, again, don't always be so quick to judge something and say it's an instant fake. Mind you, there was enough evidence to make us all think that it was a fake. But again, it was literally a screen cap from a phone onto a computer for the test client that they use. So, yeah. Anyway, that's going to be all for this review and recap. Hopefully they'll have some more coming out soon. If you like these videos, please like, subscribe, leave comments down below. What are your thoughts on these cards? What kind of combinations are you seeing in them? Till next time, this is Shiv saying stay safe, have fun, and may RNGesus bless you. Or if not, I'm sure we can bribe him.